The air thrummed with a nervous energy that mirrored the frantic flutter in Leo Finch's chest. The ornate, wrought iron gates of Veridia Academy loomed ahead, a gothic silhouette against a sky bruised with the last vestiges of sunset. Ivy, thick as a dragon's hide, clawed its way up ancient stone walls, occasionally punctuated by an anachronistic LED screen flickering with arcane symbols and cartoonish, winking gestures. It was less a school, more a fantastical, slightly unhinged asylum. Leo clutched the strap of his backpack, knuckles white. His carefully pressed uniform, a crisp gray with subtle black trim, felt like a costume for a play he hadn't rehearsed. He was 18, yet felt no older than the nervous first years he'd seen clutching their parents' hands at the train station. This wasn't just any academy. This was Veridia, where the sorting ceremony wasn't a dignified tradition, but a performance of psychological warfare, orchestrated by a man known only as the Jester. His parents, practical and unassuming, had raised him on the mantra of blending in. Leo had internalized it, aiming for invisibility, for the quiet confidence that earned a nod, but never a spotlight. He excelled at following instructions, at understanding systems, at making himself useful without making waves. He yearned for a house that reflected this, the strategic cunning of the enigmas, perhaps, with their intricate puzzles and measured intellect. Even the witty illusionists of the pranksters held a certain intellectual appeal, their mischief rooted in cleverness. But the House of Harlequins with their loud theatrics? Or worse, the House of Oddities, a haven for the bizarre and unconventional? The mere thought made his stomach churn. He didn't want to embrace chaos. He wanted to conquer it with order, to prove his worth by fitting perfectly into a predefined, respectable mold. The path twisted, revealing more of the Academy's eccentric architecture, a clock tower whose gears spun backward for a full minute every hour, gargoyles that occasionally shifted their stony gaze, and a fountain where the water flowed not just up, but sometimes sideways or even in perfect, silent cubes. It was all so much. First time, a voice chirped beside him. Leo jumped, nearly dropping his bag. A girl with a cascade of fiery red hair and eyes that sparkled with untamed mirth skipped into view. She wore a bright green tunic, not yet bearing a house crest, but clearly indicative of a certain spirited personality. You look like you're about to face a firing squad, not a sorting hat, or, well, a sorting jester. She winked. Leo managed a weak smile. Something like that. Leo Finch. And you are? Seraphina Thorne. But everyone calls me Sera. My brother's been here for 2 years, says it's wild. He's a harlequin, of course. All drama, that one. She rolled her eyes playfully. Me? I'm hoping for pranksters. Imagine the fun. Leo felt a pang of envy at her easy confidence. I'm hoping for something predictable, he admitted, then immediately regretted sounding so lame. Sera just laughed, a bright, melodic sound. Predictable? At Veridia? Bless your heart, Leo. You must be new to magic. He flushed. Not exactly. I mean, my abilities are subtle. I'm good with patterns, with discerning things. I just want to find a place where I can contribute, where I can make sense of things. Patterns, eh? Good luck with that, she said, her smile broadening as they reached a massive, oak door, intricately carved with grinning faces and swirling labyrinths. It hissed open, revealing a cavernous hall already packed with students. The great hall defied conventional physics. Chandeliers, some made of crystal, others of what looked suspiciously like glowing jellyfish, floated at impossible angles. Banners depicting the 4 houses, a dramatic mask, harlequins, a sly fox, pranksters, a coiled snake devouring its tail, enigmas, and a sprawling, amorphous blob, oddities, hung from the ceiling, shimmering with restless light. The long, dark wood tables of each house were empty now, waiting like hungry beasts. A gasp rippled through the crowd as the grand double doors at the far end of the hall burst open, not with a flourish, but with a shower of confetti and a puff of iridescent smoke. And there he was, the Jester. He was taller than Leo expected, lanky yet graceful, clad in a patchwork suit of riotous colors, scarlet, emerald, deep purple, and a jarring, jaundiced yellow. His face was a canvas of theatrical makeup, a wide, unsettling grin painted in blood red, eyes framed by dark kohl that seemed to glitter with 1,000 mischievous secrets. A top hat, adorned with a tiny, jiggling bell, perched jauntily on his head. He looked like a nightmare made charming, a clown that could steal your soul with a laugh. "Welcome, dear students." His voice boomed, rich and resonant, yet with an underlying cadence that suggested he was always on the verge of a cackle. "Welcome to Veridia. Welcome to the grandest stage of all. And welcome to the mad sorting." He threw his arms wide, and a volley of invisible fireworks exploded in the hall, showering everyone with glittering, harmless sparks. A few students shrieked, others laughed nervously. Leo merely flinched, his heart hammering against his ribs. Now, the jester continued, his painted grin stretching impossibly wide. "I see many eager faces, many trembling knees. Many questions bubbling beneath those shiny new uniforms." He paused, his gaze sweeping over the crowd, lingering for a fraction too long on Leo, who immediately felt exposed, like a fragile insect under a magnifying glass. "Forget what you think you know about sorting. No dusty old hats here, no musty scrolls, no whispered secrets. Here, we sort with flair, with pizzazz, with a delightful dash of pandemonium." He plucked a rubber chicken from seemingly nowhere, squeezed it, and it emitted a surprisingly realistic squawk. The chicken then vanished in a puff of smoke. "Your houses," the jester gestured grandly to the banners, "are not merely labels. They're reflections of your truest selves, your hidden talents, your glorious, magnificent imperfections." He leaned in conspiratorially, his voice dropping to a stage whisper that still carried to every corner of the hall. "Are you the bold, the dramatic, the undeniable star? Perhaps a harlequin awaits. Are you the witty, the cunning, the master of illusion? A prankster might be your kin. Do you thrive on strategy, on intricate puzzles, on the delicious dance of the mind? Then the enigmas call to you. Or," he paused, his eyes twinkling, "are you the gloriously unconventional, the beautifully bizarre, the one who paints outside the lines with glee? Then perhaps the House of Oddities will be your home." Leo swallowed hard. He felt anything but magnificent or imperfect. He felt anxious. He just wanted to be assigned, to be validated, to be told where he belonged. "The process is simple," the jester declared, waving a hand. "I shall call your name. You will approach. I will present you with a challenge, a riddle, a little game to tickle your true essence. And then, poof, you will be sorted." He snapped his fingers, and a single, perfectly formed bubble drifted lazily across the hall. The first name called was a girl with vibrant pink hair. Esmeralda Mara Lightbringer. Mara strutted forward, chin high. The jester presented her with a small, unlit torch. "Light it, dear Mara, with a truth that burns brightest within you." Mara grinned, her pink hair seeming to glow. "I'm not afraid to stand out," she declared, and the torch erupted in a plume of fuchsia flame. "To the Harlequins," the jester bellowed, and the Harlequin banner flared with red and white. Mara skipped to the Harlequin table, already beaming. Next was a boy, stoic and composed. "Barnaby Quill." The jester held up a single, intricate knot. "Untie this, Barnaby, with the trickiest lie you've ever told." Barnaby furrowed his brow, then a mischievous glint entered his eyes. He whispered something in the jester's ear, and the knot instantly dissolved. "To the pranksters," the jester announced, green lights shimmering from the banner. The sorting continued, a blur of quickfire challenges and surprising results. A shy girl, asked to sing her deepest fear, wailed a surprisingly melodic tune that resonated with primal dread and was sorted into enigmas. A burly boy, told to describe the most beautiful chaos he'd ever witnessed, launched into a poetic ode to a collapsing sandcastle and found himself among the oddities. Leo's anxiety ratcheted up with each name called. He watched the unconventional methods with a growing sense of dread. There was no right answer, only a true one. And what was his truth? His truth was that he just wanted to be okay, to be normal, to be sorted. "Leo Finch." The jester's voice sliced through the din, echoing in the cavernous hall. Leo's breath hitched. His carefully constructed composure shattered. He felt 1,000 eyes on him, 1,000 silent judgments. His feet felt like lead, but he forced them to move, one reluctant step after another, towards the elevated platform where the jester stood, bathed in an unnerving spotlight. He reached the platform, acutely aware of his clammy palms, his racing pulse. The jester's painted smile seemed to widen, his kohl-rimmed eyes glinting with an unnerving amusement. He held a small, polished silver mirror, its surface swirling with faint, ethereal mist. Leo Finch, the jester purred, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial murmur. The quiet one. The careful one. The one who hopes for a map in a maze, yes. Leo flinched. How did he know? Tell me, Leo, the jester continued, tilting the mirror towards him. What do you see when you look upon yourself, truly? Not what others expect, not what you wish to be, but what you fear to be. The mirror's mist swirled, then cleared. Leo gasped. Staring back at him was not his reflection, but a blurred, indistinct figure. A shadow. A person whose features were so vague, so utterly unremarkable, that they could be anyone, or no one. A ghost. Answer me, Leo. The jester's voice was softer now, almost empathetic, yet still laced with that unsettling undertone. What does that blurry shadow truly represent? What is your greatest fear, the one that makes you desperately seek order and definition? Leo's mind raced, a cacophony of frantic thoughts. To admit his fear of being unremarkable, of being overlooked, of being a failure, felt like admitting defeat before he'd even begun. It was the very vulnerability he'd spent his life trying to suppress. He opened his mouth, but no words came. The blurred reflection mocked him, silent and featureless. The jester watched, his painted smile unwavering, patiently waiting for Leo to confront the deepest insecurity that had brought him to Veridia Academy. The silence stretched, suffocating, as Leo stood on the precipice of revealing his true, terrified self to the entire, waiting hall. The grand hall hummed with a silence so profound, Leo could hear the frantic beat of his own heart. The jester, a flamboyant spectacle of mismatched silks and unsettling grins, leaned back in his oversized, gilded chair, one finger tapping a rhythm on his chin. His gaze, sharp and assessing, pierced through the packed auditorium, resting finally on Leo. Young Finch, the jester purred, his voice a low, theatrical rumble that vibrated through the very floorboards. Such a well-constructed little fortress you've built around yourself. So many rules, so many expectations. A veritable blueprint for conformity. He paused, letting the word hang in the air, a mild insult in this place. Leo swallowed, his throat suddenly dry. He braced himself, expecting the jester to dissect his answer, to mock his carefully crafted facade. He'd hoped for enigmas, strategic, cunning, yes, but still ordered. Or perhaps pranksters, if he could muster enough wit. Anything but the wild, unhinged reputation of the Harlequins or, worse, the bewildering House of Oddities. He just wanted a place where he could finally belong. The jester's smile widened, showing a flash of gold tooth. You seek belonging, young Leo. You crave a mold into which you can neatly pour yourself. But Veridia, my dear boy, is not a place for molds. It is a place for the unmoldable. He clapped his hands together, a sound like a pistol shot that made half the students jump. Therefore, I decree, let the careful architect of his own cage learn to dance in the open air. Let the seeker of order embrace the beautiful, untamed chaos. The jester pointed a long, gloved finger, not at a banner of crimson or emerald, but at the sprawling, vibrant tapestry of yellow that billowed above a section of the new students. House of Oddities, he boomed, his voice echoing with an almost delighted maliciousness. Let the chaos begin. A wave of murmurs rippled through the hall. Oddities. Leo's stomach plummeted. Oddities. It sounded like a collection of forgotten things, a cabinet of curiosities, a house for those who simply didn't fit anywhere else. This was not the respectable house he'd envisioned. This was not the validation he craved. This was a cosmic joke. On him. The yellow banner shimmered, and from the depths of the oddities section, a cacophony erupted, a whoop, a faint smell of something like burnt sugar and petrichor, and a distinct sound of a small, melodic gong being struck repeatedly. Leo, numb, felt a gentle push from behind. Go on, then, Finch, a gruff voice whispered. Don't keep the oddities waiting. They're probably already trying to make a head out of that anxious frown of yours. With leaden feet, Leo walked. Each step down the aisle felt like a public shaming, his cheeks burning with mortification. He passed the smug, expectant faces of the harlequins, the knowing grins of the pranksters, and the watchful, unreadable stares of the enigmas. He reached the oddities section, a vibrant, somewhat unruly corner that seemed to pulse with its own erratic energy. The chairs here weren't neatly aligned, some were mismatched, others seemingly made of twisted branches or glowing fungi. The students themselves were a kaleidoscope of expressions, some with wild hair, others quietly sketching on their hands, one juggling 3 apples that occasionally flickered with faint, green light. He slid into a vacant seat that felt surprisingly comfortable, like sinking into a mossy bank. The student next to him, a girl with hair the color of stormy skies braided with luminous threads, offered a small, knowing smile. Welcome to the madhouse, Finch, she said, her voice surprisingly soft. Don't worry, the chairs only occasionally try to eat you. The rest of the sorting ceremony blurred into an irrelevant hum. Leo couldn't focus on the other students, the jester's continued pronouncements, or the rising cheer of the various houses. He was in the House of Oddities. His carefully constructed plans, his hopes for a structured path, had just been reduced to a pile of whimsical, unpredictable rubble. Dismissal came with a flurry of confused students and a final, echoing cackle from the jester. Leo felt a tug on his sleeve. It was the girl with the stormy hair. I'm Serafina, she said, extending a hand that was surprisingly warm. Sera. And you're Leo, the jester's latest guinea pig. He seemed particularly pleased with your selection. Leo managed a weak, hi, Sera. He noticed the flash of green on her tie. She was a prankster. You actually think this is normal? Sera laughed, a light, melodic sound. Normal? Oh, Leo, normal, died at the gates of Veridia. But I think interesting is a good enough substitute, don't you? She tilted her head, observing his crestfallen expression. Rough start, huh? Oddities isn't exactly the most respectable house, if that's what you were aiming for. I like things to make sense, Leo confessed, feeling a childish frustration bubble up. I like knowing what's expected. Then you're in for a wild ride, Sera said, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Come on, I'll walk with you to the dorms. Mine's the prankster tower, but I can point you towards the oddities Denver. It's memorable. Sera was as good as her word, guiding him through corridors that twisted and turned with a life of their own, some glowing with soft, bioluminescent light, others pulsating with barely contained arcane energy. The oddities den, when they finally reached it, was a sprawling, cavernous space that seemed to defy architectural logic. It was a riot of colors, strange contraptions hanging from the ceiling, plants growing in impossible places, and furniture that looked like it had been salvaged from 1,000 different eras. Good luck, Sera said, giving him a sympathetic pat on the shoulder. Don't let the jester get to you. He just wants to see what you're really made of. She winked. Maybe I'll see you around in classes. The next morning, Leo found himself sitting in a classroom that felt more like a perpetually swirling vortex than a stable learning environment. It was applied absurdity, and the lecturer, Professor Lumina, a woman whose hair seemed to be made of shifting nebulae, paced the non-Euclidean floor. Today, class, Professor Lumina announced, her voice a calm counterpoint to the chaotic visuals, we will delve into the art of inanimate animation. Your task: make an object express a complex emotion. No obvious spellcasting. No wands. Only intent and a willingness to be utterly ridiculous. Leo stared at the various objects laid out before him, a rusty old wrench, a deflated football, a single, mismatched sock. He picked up the sock, feeling utterly bewildered. How was he supposed to make a sock express sorrow? He tried concentrating, furrowing his brow, trying to mentally project sadness into the fabric. The sock remained stubbornly sock-like. He glanced around. The other students were trying everything. A harlequin student was dramatically gesturing at a quill, practically begging it to weep. A prankster was trying to convince a teacup to look suspicious, with a series of rapidly changing expressions. Sera, seated a few rows ahead, had an ancient, brass telescope. She wasn't doing anything obvious, just talking to it. Whispering almost. "Come on, my little dusty friend," she murmured, nudging the telescope gently. "You've seen so much, haven't you? All those distant stars, all those lonely nights. Surely, you've felt a touch of melancholia." Suddenly, the telescope slowly, subtly drooped. Its brass components seemed to dull slightly, reflecting the light with less enthusiasm. It truly looked wistful. Professor Lumina gave an approving hum. "Excellent, Miss Thorne. A beautiful demonstration of cosmic melancholy." Leo felt a surge of frustration. He tried whispering to his sock, tried pleading with it. Nothing. He then attempted a more logical approach, remembering a vague magical theory about transferring emotional resonance. He visualized a melancholic memory, tried to channel it into the sock. It remained a sock. A very unsad sock. Having trouble, Finch, a voice drawled from behind him. It was Victor Thorne, Sera's older brother, a harlequin, radiating an aura of self-assured arrogance. He had a small, intricately carved wooden bird, which, under his focused gaze, began to slowly preen its feathers, looking utterly vain. Some of us just have a knack for this. Others are better suited to sorting library scrolls. Leo bristled, but before he could retort, Professor Lumina clapped her hands. "Time for the next challenge. This afternoon, you will embark on a sensory scavenger hunt through the Whispering Gardens. You will be looking for objects that embody specific, paradoxical sensations. For example, a silence that screams or a shadow that glows. Your success depends on your ability to perceive the magic in the improbable." Leo left the classroom feeling even more overwhelmed. The sorting had been a disaster, his first class a public display of his ineptitude, and now he had to find a screaming silence? How was any of this supposed to teach him anything useful? He just wanted to learn the rules, to understand the system. But Veridia, it seemed, had no rules, only chaos. He trudged back towards the Oddities' den, the weight of his unsad sock still feeling heavy in his pocket, a tangible symbol of his failure. As he neared the entrance, a flicker of movement caught his eye. A small, intricately folded paper bird, no bigger than his thumb, lay on the cobblestones. It wasn't just any paper bird, it was folded from a small fragment of the jester's distinctive, swirling purple stationery. As Leo reached for it, the paper bird subtly unfurled a single, tiny wing, revealing a cryptic message scrawled in the jester's spidery hand. "The greatest illusions are not those we see, but those we insist are real. And the wildest truth? It often hides in the most unremarkable of places." Below the message, a simple, unsettling symbol had been drawn, an eye, winking from within a swirling spiral. Leo stared at the message, his mind churning. What did it mean? Was this another test? Another taunt? He clutched the paper bird, feeling a shiver. The jester was watching. Always watching. And Leo, deep in the bewildering heart of the House of Oddities, felt more lost than ever. The aroma of scrambled dragon eggs and magically infused toast usually filled Veridia Academy's great hall with a comforting cacophony each morning. For Leo, however, even breakfast had become an exercise in anxiety management. He found himself picking at a particularly unidentifiable purple fruit, trying to mentally checklist his day's chaotic classes, improvisational enchantments, applied absurdity with Professor Quirke, and a dreaded team challenge in Lumina Labyrinth. He still felt acutely out of place in his yellow and black House of Oddities robes, a stark contrast to the sensible muted tones he'd always envisioned for himself. "Still trying to decipher the nutritional value of that thing, Leo?" Sera's voice, a cheerful chime, cut through his thoughts. She slid into the seat opposite him, her green prankster robes a vibrant splash of energy. "It's a giggleberry. Eat enough, and everything suddenly seems hilarious. Useful for some of Quirke's lectures, trust me." Leo managed a weak smile. "I'm just trying to process everything. It's only been a few days, and I feel like I've lived a lifetime of nonsensical events." Sera snorted. "Welcome to Veridia. You learn to surf the chaos, or you drown in the jester's confetti. Speaking of which, he's been suspiciously quiet today." That's usually when he's brewing something epic. She nudged her head towards the high table, where the head sorter, the jester, sat perched on his ornate, unstable-looking chair, his crimson and purple attire a flamboyant blot against the ancient stone. He was, as always, grinning, but today his grin seemed wider, more anticipatory. A sudden, sharp cymbal crash echoed through the hall, making several students jump, including Leo. The jester stood, a dramatic flourish of his cane silencing the room. "Good morning, my delightful denizens of delirium," his voice boomed, carrying a playful menace. "I trust you're all suitably nourished for another day of delightful disorientation?" A ripple of nervous laughter went through the hall. Leo gripped his fork tighter. This was it. "Now, as you know," the jester continued, his eyes scanning the room, lingering just a fraction too long on Leo, Veridia Academy prides itself on nurturing not just magical talent, but also character. And what better way to observe character than when it's truly put to the test? He paused for dramatic effect, letting the tension coil. Today, we have a very special, unscheduled public address. One from a student who, I believe, embodies the very spirit of our newest house, the glorious House of Oddities. Leo's breath hitched. He knew. His gaze locked with the jester's, who offered him a conspiratorial wink. "Leo Finch," the jester declared, his voice rising. "Come forward, my boy. The stage awaits your brilliance." A collective murmur spread across the hall. Leo felt 1,000 eyes on him, burning through his skin. His stomach twisted into a complex knot. Sera squeezed his arm reassuringly, but her eyes held a spark of nervous excitement. "Go on, Leo. He doesn't bite, usually," she whispered. Stiff-legged, Leo pushed himself up from the bench, his untouched giggleberry suddenly seeming to mock him. He walked the interminable distance to the raised dais, each step feeling like he was sinking into quicksand. The jester clapped him heartily on the shoulder, almost dislodging him. "Our dear Leo has prepared for us a profound and moving speech on the unpredictable nature of being," the jester announced, handing Leo a scroll tied with a bright yellow ribbon. "He's so dedicated, he even wrote his notes in a special, spontaneous format." Leo unrolled the scroll, his hands trembling. It was blank. Not even a smudge. He looked up, bewildered. The jester merely smiled, gesturing towards an ornate, slightly wobbly podium. "The mic is hot, Leo. The floor is yours." Leo approached the podium, his mind racing, utterly blank. He cleared his throat, but instead of his usual voice, a low, guttural growl emerged. A few students giggled. He tried again, and this time, a high-pitched squeak escaped. His cheeks burned. Victor Thorne, from the Harlequin's table, was openly sneering, a look of smug superiority plastered on his face. Good morning," Leo managed, his voice oscillating wildly between a booming baritone and a fragile whisper. I'm here to talk about the unpredictable nature of being." He looked desperately at the blank scroll, then at the expectant faces. Panic threatened to overwhelm him. This was exactly his nightmare: public humiliation, failure to perform, exposed as unremarkable. Then a flicker. A thought, born of sheer desperation, sparked in his mind. He looked at the scroll again, and this time, as he stared, a single, shimmering word appeared and then dissolved: adapt. He remembered Professor Quirke's disjointed ramblings about embracing the emergent narrative. He thought of Sera's advice to surf the chaos. He looked at the jester, whose eyes twinkled with a challenge, not malice. Leo took a deep breath, letting the chaotic sound of his own voice wash over him. "It seems," he began, letting his voice crack into a high-pitched declaration, then deepening into a rumbling bass, "that the very nature of my being is currently quite unpredictable." A few more students chuckled, but this time, it sounded less like mockery and more like genuine amusement. Even Sera was suppressing a grin. "My notes," he continued, holding up the now blank scroll with a theatrical flourish, "are, shall we say, in a state of flux. Much like life itself, wouldn't you agree?" One moment, you have a perfectly planned outline for your future, for your day, for even your next sentence. His voice went low and conspiratorial, and the next, it's all vanished, replaced by nothing. He let the silence hang, then clapped his hands together, his voice suddenly sharp and clear for a brief moment. And what do we do then? Do we freeze? Do we panic? Do we wish we were somewhere else, perhaps in a house where everything is meticulously catalogued and predictable? He cast a glance towards the more orderly Enigma's table, earning a few knowing smiles. No, he declared, his voice suddenly sounding like a fanfare. We look at the blank page, and we see an invitation. An invitation to improvise. He pointed to a giant, enchanted clock on the wall, which suddenly began running backward, its numbers scrambling. Take that clock, for instance. A testament to the relentless march of time, right? But what if time decides to take a little stroll backward? What then? Do we just rewind our lives? Or do we find a way to make sense of a backward tick-tock? He gestured wildly, his hands taking on a life of their own. As he did, a small, vibrant burst of yellow light erupted from his fingertips, illuminating the scrambled clock face for a fleeting moment before dissipating. It was accidental, spontaneous, and utterly captivating. He hadn't even realized he'd done it. The hall erupted in impressed gasps. Even Victor looked momentarily taken aback. Perhaps, Leo continued, emboldened by the accidental magic and the shift in the audience's mood, his voice now a surprisingly steady baritone. The unpredictable nature of being isn't a flaw, but our greatest strength. It's what forces us to be quick, to be clever, to find beauty in the bizarre. It's what makes a bland, ordered existence, well, oddly captivating. He concluded with a triumphant, if still slightly wobbly, bow. The great hall, which had been a sea of tense anticipation, burst into applause. Not just polite applause, but genuine, enthusiastic cheers. Students from all houses were clapping, some even stomping their feet. Sera was on her feet, whistling loudly, a wide, proud grin on her face. Even the jester was clapping, his maniacal grin a shade less unhinged, more approving. As Leo stepped down, feeling lighter than air, he caught sight of Professor Quirke. The eccentric professor, usually slumped in a corner, was sitting upright, a rare glint of genuine admiration in his normally unfocused eyes. He met Leo's gaze and, with a slow, deliberate movement, gave a single, firm nod. It wasn't a casual gesture, it was a profound acknowledgement, a silent message that only Leo seemed to truly understand. Leo made his way back to his table, feeling a strange blend of exhaustion and exhilaration. He'd done it. He hadn't just survived, he'd performed. He turned his greatest fear into an unexpected triumph, embracing the very chaos he'd always shunned. The thought that he could adapt, that he could even thrive in unpredictability, was a revolutionary concept for him. He still didn't understand the yellow light, but it was just another oddity in a world that was rapidly becoming his own. He sat down, a little breathless. Sera clapped him on the back, almost sending him sprawling. Leo, that was amazing. The voice changes, the vanishing notes, the clock. And that flash of magic. You totally owned it. Victor, walking past their table with his harlequin entourage, scoffed. Beginner's luck. He just got lucky the jester's little show worked in his favor. Anyone can babble nonsense when they're put on the spot. But even Victor's dismissive tone couldn't erase the genuine applause that still hummed in Leo's ears. Leo ignored him, a new confidence bubbling within him. He looked down at the untouched giggleberry. Maybe it was time to try it. He picked it up, feeling a faint warmth radiating from his fingertips. As he bit into the strangely purple fruit, a wave of inexplicable, bubbling mirth washed over him. He felt a smile, genuine and unforced, spread across his face. The world was still chaotic, still unpredictable, but for the first time, Leo Finch felt like he wasn't just a passenger. He was learning to drive. And a new, bolder thought echoed in his mind, courtesy of the giggleberry's influence. What else could he make sense of, or even manipulate, with this newfound oddity within him? The Lumina Labyrinth Team Challenge now seemed less daunting and more like an opportunity to test the waters of his evolving, chaotic self. He wondered what Professor Quirke knew about that flash of yellow light. He resolved to ask him. The metallic tang of triumph still lingered on Leo's tongue, a surprising aftertaste from the chaotic alchemy lesson. He hadn't just survived the jester's prank, he'd solved it, transforming a bewildered mess into a minor personal victory. The quiet nod from Professor Quirke, a flicker of something like approval in his ancient eyes, had been more validating than any conventional grade. Now, though, a new ripple of unease spread through the great hall during lunch. The jester, as always, loved a grand entrance. This time, he didn't appear in person, but his voice boomed from the crystal chandelier overhead, amplified and distorted, like a funhouse mirror for the ears. Attention, Veridians! Feeling stagnant? A little too predictable. The jester's laugh, a cackle that seemed to bounce off the very foundations of the academy, followed. Fear not, my little darlings. For today, we stir the pot. We whisk the whimsical. We present the Grand Veridia Scramble, a quest for the quintessence of caprice. A collective groan rippled through the Harlequin tables, followed by enthusiastic cheers from the pranksters and a smattering of curious murmurs from the enigmas and oddities. Leo exchanged a wary glance with Sera, who merely grinned, already buzzing with mischievous energy. Teams of 4, the jester's voice continued, accompanied by shimmering, multicolored light that projected floating holographic names onto the walls. Mixed houses, of course. Points awarded not just for completion, but for flair, for wit, for the glorious, unexpected absurdity of your methods. Leo scanned the names frantically, his old anxieties trying to reassert themselves. Please, not a Harlequin. Please, not alone. Then, he spotted his name. Leo Finch, Oddities, Seraphina Thorne, Pranksters, Barnaby, Barty Buttons, Enigmas, and... He froze. Victor Thorne, Harlequins. Sera saw it too. Her grin faltered, replaced by a subtle clenching of her jaw. Figures, she muttered, pushing a piece of enchanted toast around her plate. Victor loves these big, dramatic things. He'll try to take charge. Leo felt his stomach clench. Victor had been insufferable during every shared class, his eyes often flicking to Leo with a condescending sneer. He's your brother, right? Older, Sera confirmed, a sigh escaping her. And a complete drama king. He thinks everything is a stage for his magnificent ego, especially if it involves putting someone down to make himself look better. She gave Leo a pointed look. Don't let him get to you. The challenge was simple, yet maddeningly vague. Teams were to collect 3 fragments of folly, scattered across the academy grounds, each guarded by a unique, chaotic enchantment. The ultimate goal was to combine them at the Conundrum Compass, located in the perpetually shifting clock tower. Their team met near the starting line, a chaotic congregation of students buzzing with anticipation. Victor, predictably, was already holding court, striking a pose that screamed natural leader. He had the Harlequin trademarked dramatic flair, his posture radiating confidence, his crimson and white uniform pristine. All right, team, Victor announced, ignoring the actual assignment of leadership, which was none. Here's the plan. We go for speed, direct confrontation. No dilly-dallying with riddles or creative solutions. We overpower the enchantments. He glanced at Leo, a smirk playing on his lips. Especially you, Finch. Try not to slow us down. This isn't a lesson in applied absurdity, you know. Leo felt a familiar flush of heat rise to his face, but this time, it was mixed with a surprising spark of irritation. Applied absurdity actually helped me last time, he thought, recalling the glowing goo incident. Sera stepped forward, a glint in her eyes. And what if brute force isn't the answer, dear brother? Some enchantments prefer a delicate touch, or a cleverly placed distraction. Victor scoffed. Please, Seraphina. You and your little tricks. This is about commanding attention, seizing the moment. Not hiding in the shadows with minor illusions. Barty, a lanky Enigma student with thick spectacles, cleared his throat. Actually, the jester did specify flair and wit. And absurdity. Direct confrontation might be counterproductive for full points. Victor simply waved a dismissive hand. Nonsense. The drama of a decisive victory is the flair. Now let's go. First fragment. The Whispering Willows in the Botanical Gardens. The Botanical Gardens were a labyrinth of exotic, magically enhanced flora. The Whispering Willows, an ancient grove, was guarded by an ever-shifting hedge maze. Its pathways seemed to breathe, twisting and reforming with every passing shadow. Victor immediately began trying to hack through the hedges with a shimmering, temporary blade conjured from a burst of harlequin magic. "This is ridiculous," he roared, frustrated as the severed branches instantly rewove themselves. "It's like it's mocking me." "Because it is," Sera murmured, eyes narrowed, observing the movement of the leaves. "It's not meant to be forced. It's an illusion, a suggestion." She turned to Leo. "What do you see, Finch?" Leo, stepping closer, focused. He didn't see static hedges. He saw subtle currents of displaced air, leaves rustling in impossible patterns, and faint, shimmering outlines that seemed to move ahead of the actual hedges. "It's not just physical. It's responding to expectation. If you expect a wall, it becomes one." "Precisely," Barty whispered, adjusting his glasses. "A psychological construct, woven with low-level illusion magic. The path appears when you stop looking for a fixed one." Leo closed his eyes for a moment, remembering Professor Quirke's lesson about embracing the unexpected. He pictured the maze not as an obstacle, but as a fluid entity. When he opened them, the shimmering outlines were clearer. "Follow my lead," he said, surprising even himself with his confident tone. He walked forward, not towards a clear path, but towards a place where the air felt thinner, where the rustling seemed less insistent. Sera, catching on, added a subtle, shifting illusion of a path behind them, confusing the maze into thinking they were still further back. Victor, meanwhile, was still shouting at the hedges, his blade sparking uselessly. They found the first fragment of folly, a shimmering, ephemeral butterfly made of pure light, fluttering in the heart of the grove. It settled gently on Leo's outstretched hand, glowing faintly. Victor finally caught up, huffing. "How did you?" He eyed the butterfly suspiciously. "Never mind. Just dumb luck. Let's move to the next one." The library's forbidden fiction section. The library, typically a hushed haven, was abuzz with students scrambling. The forbidden fiction section was rumored to be guarded by a riddle-spinning gargoyle. True to form, a stone gargoyle perched atop a towering shelf, its eyes glowing with a mischievous purple light. "I have cities, but no houses. I have mountains, but no trees. I have water, but no fish. What am I?" It intoned, its voice like grinding stone. Victor immediately launched into a dramatic speech. "Gargoyle, I command you to reveal your secrets. Your riddles are beneath the mighty harlequins." He tried to use his charisma to overwhelm it, but the gargoyle merely blinked slowly, unimpressed. "A map," Barty muttered, already scribbling calculations on a small notepad. "It's always a map." "Too obvious," Sera chimed in. "The jester doesn't do obvious. He does absurd." She looked at Leo. "Remember Quirke's nonlinear thinking?" Leo thought about it. Applied absurdity. The gargoyle wasn't looking for the correct answer, necessarily, but the most interesting one. He stepped forward. "You are." The collected works of Professor Quirke. The gargoyle paused. Its stone face, previously stoic, seemed to twitch. "Explain your folly, human," it rumbled, a hint of genuine curiosity in its voice. "Professor Quirke's mind is a landscape," Leo continued, improvising wildly, feeling a spark of inspiration. "Full of intricate cities of thought, towering mountains of complex ideas and vast oceans of pure, unadulterated nonsense. It has everything, yet nothing tangible to hold. A true enigma, much like your riddle." The gargoyle let out a chortle, a surprisingly high-pitched sound for a stone creature. "An answer, as absurd as the question itself." "Approved." It winked, then transformed into a shower of shimmering dust, revealing the second fragment of folly, a tiny, perfectly formed glass eye, winking up at them from a velvet cushion. Victor stared, dumbfounded. You just made that up." "Didn't say it had to be right," Sera said with a shrug, plucking the glass eye. "Just clever." She shot a proud glance at Leo. The final fragment was supposedly at the clock tower courtyard. As they arrived, they saw Victor's initial team members, a different group of harlequins, already there, along with a few enigmas, all staring at a massive, intricate series of gears and pendulums that filled the courtyard. It was clearly the conundrum compass, humming with magical energy. The final challenge is to activate this beast. Victor's voice rang out from the center of the crowd as he dramatically twisted a giant brass lever. We just need to find the correct sequence for these gears. Logic, order, power. Leo felt a sudden, profound certainty that Victor was wrong. The jester didn't reward logic and order alone. He rewarded the embrace of chaos. He remembered Quirke's words, sometimes the answer isn't on the map, but in the tear you make in it. Sera leaned closer to Leo. He's always looking for the biggest, most obvious mechanism. What if the real conundrum compass isn't a thing to be activated, but a feeling to be understood? Leo scanned the courtyard. Everyone was focused on the gears, on the impressive, moving parts. But what about the still parts? The shadows? The ambient magic? Then he saw it. Not on the mechanisms, but above them, just out of reach. A small, iridescent bubble, shimmering with all the colors of the rainbow, floating lazily. It pulsed with a faint, almost imperceptible rhythm, like a heart. The quintessence of caprice. Victor, meanwhile, had noticed them. Finch. Thorn. What are you doing loitering? Come help me synchronize these gears. Don't just stand there like a pair of oddities. He sneered. Leo didn't flinch. He looked at Sera, and she understood. He's missing the point, as usual, she whispered. How do we get something that looks like pure whimsy? It needs to be attracted, Leo said, staring at the bubble. He remembered the butterfly in the garden, settling on his hand when he wasn't forcing it. Not caught. Invited. Victor, seeing them focus on something other than his grand display, grew agitated. Don't ignore me. This is the most important part. He tried to physically block their view of the bubble, waving his arms dramatically. There's nothing up there but air. Sera, quick as a flash, conjured a tiny, sparkling illusion of a jester's hat, spinning playfully near the bubble. The bubble pulsed faster, intrigued. Leo, focusing, didn't try to reach for it. He simply willed it. He thought of all the unpredictable, bizarre, and wonderful things he'd experienced at Veridia. He thought of the goo, the talking gargoyle, the shifting maze. He thought of Professor Quirke's twinkling eyes and Sera's infectious mischief. He embraced the absurdity, the oddity, the pure, unadulterated caprice of it all. A warmth spread through him, a resonance with the floating bubble. It wasn't a spell or a gesture, but a raw, emotional connection. The bubble, sensing his genuine wonder and acceptance of its nature, slowly, gracefully, drifted down. It settled directly into the palm of Leo's hand, shimmering brighter than ever. The moment it touched him, the three fragments of folly, the butterfly, the glass eye, and the bubble, merged into a single, breathtaking orb of swirling, iridescent light. It hummed with a soft, joyful energy. Victor's mouth fell open. His dramatic pose collapsed. What is that? You cheated. That wasn't part of the mechanism. Precisely, Professor Quirke's voice cut through the courtyard as he emerged from the shadows, a faint smile playing on his lips. He walked directly to Leo, peering at the orb in his hand. The quintessence of caprice cannot be forced, young Thorn. It must be wooed. He winked at Leo. Well done, Finch. You're beginning to understand. A gasp went through the assembled students. Victor, flustered and humiliated, stalked off, muttering about injustice. Sera bumped Leo's shoulder, a wide, genuine grin spreading across her face. You did it, Leo. You really did it. Leo looked down at the glowing orb in his hand, then out at the chaotic, magical academy around him. The triumph wasn't just in winning, but in how he'd won. He hadn't fought the chaos, he had danced with it. He hadn't conformed, he had found his own, wonderfully odd rhythm. Professor Quirke clapped him lightly on the shoulder. The jester will be pleased. Very pleased indeed. But this, young Finch, was merely a prelude. A warm-up act. The grand finale approaches, and with it, your true test. He leaned in, his eyes twinkling. Are you ready to truly embrace the unpredictable? Leo looked at the swirling light in his hand, then at the impossibly high clock tower, where a new, grander magical aura was beginning to coalesce. A strange mix of excitement and anticipation pulsed through him. He took a deep breath and, for the first time, smiled. "I think," Leo said, a newfound confidence ringing in his voice, "I'm ready for whatever madness he throws at me." The air in Veridia Academy's grand atrium thrummed with an electricity that had nothing to do with the flickering enchanted sconces and everything to do with the palpable anticipation of the final Jester challenge. It was the last hurdle, the ultimate test before the academic year officially commenced, and the stakes, while vaguely defined, felt higher than any exam Leo had ever faced. Gone was the anxious knot in Leo's stomach, replaced by a peculiar, almost giddy hum. He stood amongst his peers, no longer shrinking into himself, but observing the chaotic beauty of the atrium. Giant, glowing bubbles drifted lazily upwards, occasionally bursting with a shower of harmless, iridescent glitter. A flock of mechanical ravens, each with a single, glowing eye, circled the cavernous space, their caws echoing with distorted laughter. This was Veridia. This was home. Sera nudged him, a playful glint in her green eyes. "Ready for the Jester's grand finale, Finch? Rumor has it he's been brewing something truly special." Leo grinned, a genuine, unforced smile that stretched his face. "Special or spectacularly insane? Either way, I'm ready to see what fresh madness he's cooked up. My old self would be having an existential crisis." "Your old self would be hiding under a table," Sera quipped, elbowing him lightly. "But look at you, practically glowing with chaotic potential. Oddities are looking good this year." Their conversation was cut short by a sudden, jarring chord that vibrated through the very stones of the academy. The mechanical ravens shrieked, swirling into a dizzying vortex, and the glowing bubbles popped in a rapid, dazzling sequence. A spotlight, seemingly conjured from thin air, snapped onto the central podium, illuminating Head Sorter, the Jester, in all his flamboyant glory. He wore a suit of clashing patterns, one side a riot of crimson and gold, the other a swirling galaxy of deep purple and emerald. His smile was wider, his eyes a more mischievous gleam than ever before. He held a large, ornate golden key in one hand and a single, perfectly ripe banana in the other. "My dear, delightful, utterly mad students." The Jester's voice boomed, rich with theatricality, yet somehow carrying a subtle, personal challenge in its undertones. "Welcome to the Grand Symphony of Discord." A collective gasp swept through the crowd. Professor Quirke, perched on a balcony railing like a peculiar gargoyle, offered a knowing, almost imperceptible nod in Leo's direction. Victor Thorne, standing rigidly amidst the harlequins, looked utterly bewildered, his brow furrowed in confusion. Veridia Academy is not merely a school, it is a living, breathing symphony of chaos, the Jester declared, gesturing grandly with his banana. "And tonight you, my budding maestros of madness, shall compose its most magnificent movement yet. Behold!" With a flick of his wrist, the Jester tossed the golden key high into the air. It didn't fall. Instead, it shimmered, duplicated, and then multiplied into hundreds, thousands of identical golden keys, each glittering as they spread throughout the atrium, vanishing into alcoves, hanging from chandeliers, even seemingly embedding themselves in the walls. "These keys," the Jester announced, "will unlock nothing. They are merely a symbol. Your task is to find them, gather them, and use them not to open doors, but to create music. A symphony of sound, a concerto of clatter, a fugue of furor. Each key found can be used as an instrument, a drumstick, a chisel, a pendulum, whatever your chaotic heart desires. But here's the kicker. The symphony you create must somehow, harmonize with the existing, ever-shifting magical resonance of the atrium itself." He then dramatically bit into the banana, making a loud, exaggerated chewing sound. "Your time starts when I finish this banana." And the house that contributes the most, unpredictably delightful, soundscape, wins the coveted golden gong of grotesque glory. "Go!" As the Jester took another, deliberate bite, the atrium erupted. Harlequins, predictably, began to shout instructions, trying to organize teams. Pranksters immediately started creating illusory distractions, sending students on wild goose chases. Enigmas began to scrutinize the architecture, searching for hidden patterns or magical conduits to exploit. Leo, however, didn't join the immediate scramble. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting the subtle, underlying magical hum of the atrium wash over him. He learned to feel it now, a low, resonant frequency that was constantly in flux, a melody without a discernible tune. It was a beautiful mess, and it needed a beautiful mess to complement it. He's not looking for actual harmony, is he? Sera mused, a thoughtful frown on her face. He wants something that fits the discord. Exactly, Leo said, opening his eyes, a spark of inspiration igniting. Harmony through discord. Not forcing order, but finding the rhythm within the existing chaos. He looked at the scattering keys. They're not just objects, they're potential. And the atrium. It's like a giant, magical instrument already playing its own song. We just need to play along. But how do you play along with a constantly shifting, magical hum with a bunch of metal keys? Sera asked, though her eyes were already scanning for opportunities, her prankster mind whirring. Improvisation, Leo declared, suddenly confident. And embracing the oddity of it all. He spotted a particularly large, ornate key hanging precariously from a forgotten chandelier. I have an idea. Find me some of the most oddly shaped keys you can, Sera. Something that resonates or clashes in interesting ways. My specialty. Sera winked, melting into the crowd. Leo, meanwhile, began his own hunt, but not for the most obvious keys. He ignored the ones glittering brightly, instead seeking out those partially obscured, dulled, or oddly placed. He found a massive, rusty key jammed into a defunct gear on a wall, another thin, reedy key that hummed faintly when he touched it, and a set of smaller, jangling keys hanging from a discarded abacus. He climbed onto a forgotten plinth, ignoring the strange looks from other students who were still trying to organize themselves. Victor Thorne, seeing Leo's seemingly aimless collection, sneered. Finch, still collecting junk? This is a symphony, not a junkyard percussion solo. Victor, predictably, was trying to arrange a line of harlequins to strike keys against the stone floor in a synchronized, militaristic rhythm. It was loud, but utterly out of sync with the atrium's magic. Leo just smiled. Sometimes, Victor, the junk makes the most beautiful music. Sera returned, a mischievous grin on her face, her arms laden with keys. Got a whistling key, a clanging key that sounds like a broken bell, and a set of tiny, tinkling keys that sound like fairy laughter. Perfect. Leo beamed. Okay, here's what we do. The jester said symphony, but he didn't say how it should sound. We're going to create a layer of controlled, yet utterly unpredictable sound. He took the rusty key and, using a small, sharp shard of fallen plaster, began to scrape it against the ancient stone wall, producing a low, grating rumble that resonated surprisingly well with a sudden, deep tremor in the atrium's magical hum. Sera, understanding, picked up the whistling key and blew into it, creating a high-pitched, ethereal wail that danced around the rumble, adding a counter-melody of disquiet. Other oddities, seeing Leo's lead, began to join in, not with practiced coordination, but with intuitive chaos. One student found a giant, hollow key that echoed like a drum when struck. Another discovered a string of tiny keys that, when spun, produced a mesmerizing, almost hypnotic whirring sound. They weren't making music in the traditional sense, but they were creating a tapestry of sound that interacted with the atrium's unseen symphony. Leo, standing on his plinth, began to conduct not with a baton, but with his body, swaying to the ever-changing magical frequencies. When the atrium hummed deep, he'd encourage the low rumbles and resonant clangs. When it surged high, he'd gesture for the whistles and tinkles to rise. He was no longer just responding. He was leading a wave of organic, intuitive sound. Victor, meanwhile, grew increasingly frustrated. His synchronized harlequin key bashing was falling apart. The atrium's magic seemed to actively repel their attempts at imposed order, making their keys slip, their rhythm falter. Their efforts, once loud and commanding, now sounded merely irritating and out of place. As the jester finished his banana with a theatrical flourish, The grand symphony of discord reached its crescendo. The atrium was alive with a cacophony that, impossibly, felt right. The Oddities, led by Leo, had created a swirling vortex of clangs, hums, whistles, scrapes, and whirs that, instead of fighting the magical resonance, seemed to amplify and twist it into something magnificent and truly unique. It was a beautiful, terrible, glorious noise. The jester, now wiping his hands on a silk handkerchief, surveyed the scene, his eyes gleaming. He walked the length of the atrium, his gaze lingering on the various house contributions. He stopped before the harlequins, whose synchronized efforts had devolved into frustrated, offbeat thumping. He tooted, shaking his head. Then he stopped before Leo and the Oddities. He listened, truly listened, to the intricate, shifting chaos they had woven. A slow, genuine smile spread across his face, not the usual wide, mischievous grin, but something appreciative. Well, the jester mused, his voice dropping to a lower, almost conspiratorial tone. The harlequins attempted to conduct order. The pranksters tried to distract with noise. The enigmas sought a pattern to exploit. And the Oddities. He looked directly at Leo, a glimmer of profound understanding in his eyes. The Oddities, you danced with the chaos. You didn't just play in the symphony, you became a part of its very fabric. He raised the golden gong of grotesque glory, a magnificent, tarnished instrument covered in bizarre carvings. Tonight's victor, for truly embracing the unpredictable, for finding harmony in the most glorious discord, and for simply being utterly, wonderfully odd, is the House of Oddities. A roar of delight went up from the yellow-clad students. Leo felt a surge of elation, not just for the win, but for the profound validation in the jester's words. He had danced with the chaos. He had found his rhythm. Professor Quirke, descending from his perch, offered a rare, clear smile. Took you long enough, Mr. Finch. Some of us knew you had it in you all along. The jester, he doesn't sort by what you are, but by what you can become. Leo looked around at his fellow oddities, at Sera, at Quirke, and finally at the jester, who was now blowing colorful confetti from his pockets. He felt a deep, unwavering sense of belonging. This was his house. This was his academy. This was his mad, magnificent life. He thought of the anxious, unremarkable boy who had arrived at Veridia just weeks ago, terrified of being overlooked, desperate to fit a mold. That boy was gone. In his place stood someone who had discovered the exhilarating freedom of not having a mold, of embracing the beautiful, unpredictable mess of himself. The jester caught his eye one last time, a fleeting look of knowing respect. Remember, Leo Finch, he called out, his voice carrying above the celebrations, Veridia isn't just about learning magic. It's about learning yourself. And the wildest magic of all is the one you make. Leo smiled, a confident, mischievous glint in his own eyes. The symphony of discord continued, but now he heard its true melody. And he was ready to compose the next movement of his story, whatever mad, magical notes it might hold. He wondered what other hidden talents lay dormant, waiting for a chaotic trigger. He wondered what new pranks the jester would devise, what riddles Quirke would pose, what challenges Sera would drag him into. He wondered what deeper secrets Veridia Academy and its enigmatic head sorter still held. The year had just begun, and for the first time in his life, Leo Finch was utterly thrilled by the unknown. He had found his place, not by fitting in, but by standing out in the most wonderfully chaotic way possible. And he had a sneaking suspicion that this was only the beginning of the real madness.